I promise you, if you're looking for the ultimate review on the Mammotion Luba 2 series, this is going to be the video you're going to want to stick around and see all the different things that I go over. I have been mowing with this for over 4 months. I've put over 200 hours of actual mowing time on it, and that's over 1 million mowed feet. So this video is definitely going to be different than anything that you've seen or will find anywhere else. So stick around with me for just a little bit, and I'm going to provide you with the ultimate review on the Luba 2. My journey actually started back more than 7 months ago when I was fortunate enough to see the Luba 2 on display at CES 2024 in Las Vegas, Nevada. Since I already owned the first Luba all-wheel drive 5000, I was curious to see the improvements that they made on the next generation Luba. After speaking with some of the Mammotion development team, I was very impressed with the number of improvements that they were making on the Luba 2, especially the lawn printing feature, and I couldn't wait to get my new Luba 2 all-wheel drive 10,000H. Around the middle of March, I received it, but it was a little bit early for the start of our mowing season here in Central Kentucky, but that didn't stop me. I went ahead and started testing the features out on the new Luba 2. And if you're not familiar with the company Mammotion, let me introduce you real quick. They are committed to shaping a smarter and higher quality, eco-friendly outdoor lifestyle by providing innovative outdoor robotic solutions. Their mission starts with the revolution of the robotic lawnmowers for professionals and consumers. They own over 240 patents and have won numerous global awards in innovation, technology, and design. It's undeniable that Mammotion is clearly focused on high-quality robotics and automation. And that's why I couldn't be more excited to be bringing you this review on the Luba 2 10,000H. And the Luba 2 is nothing short of amazing. And throughout this video, I'm going to demonstrate why I feel that way and why this is the top rated robotic mower that I've ever tested. Although I did not do an unboxing of the Luba 2, here's what you can expect to receive. Setting up the Luba 2 is very simple and straightforward. Just place the RTK antenna in an area that has a clear line of sight to the sky. Because the RTK antenna receives a signal from the satellite and transmits it to the Luba, whether that's in the ground or placed up on the side of your house. Just be sure that it has a clear line of sight to the sky. Next, you'll want to download the Mammotion app in the Apple Store or the Google Play Store, then create an account and follow directions provided by Mammotion inside of the app. And after you get all that set up, you'll be ready to map out your mowing zone. And depending on the complexity of your yard, you can expect to spend around 15 to 45 minutes to get this set up. Because mapping 2.5 acres versus 1/4 of an acre will take you a lot more time. And there are no perimeter wires that you need to install around your perimeter. This all basically runs from the RTK that I mentioned earlier. It sends a signal or receives a signal from the satellites, and then it sends a signal to the Luba 2 so it stays within the perimeter. And basically all you need to do is map it out on the app. And I'm going to quickly highlight some of the features that the Luba 2 offers. And throughout this video, I'm going to be doing a hands-on review and demonstrating a lot of these different features. And this is jam-packed with technology and cool features such as lawn printing. It's IPX6 rated. It has camera vision monitoring. It has multi-stage obstacle avoidance, including bionic 3D vision, ultrasonic radar, and a physical bumper. It has a rain sensor. It's true all-wheel drive. It can mow up to 2.5 acres, and depending on the model, mowing heights can range between 1.2 inches to 4 inches. It has a massive cutting width for a robotic mower of up to 15.7 inches. That comes from 2 discs that have a total of 8 blades. The slope climbing up to 80% and 38 degrees, pinpoint accuracy, super quiet, safely mow during the day or the night, and you can run 180 minutes of mow time on each charge. You can even voice control it using Alexa or Google and set up to 60 mowing zones, and you can mow manually. There is integrated security to help prevent theft, and possibly the greatest attribute to the Mammotion Luba 2 is the Mammotion app. When I first took this thing out of the box, it was super sexy, sleek, and shiny, but my test was abusive and unfair. I turned off the features that I should never turn off just to see what would happen, and then I forgot to turn them back on, and things happened. Didn't capture it on video, but I turned off some safety features, and Luba actually got stuck under this trailer that I have sitting over here behind the building. It got under here somehow and cause damage to the top of the Luba. And as you can see, I turned off this zone until we get everything cleaned up. So I guess the moral of that story is don't turn off the safety features on your Luba if you don't have to. I'm testing this thing out and trying to figure out what would happen when you turn those off. And I can confirm you don't want to do that. Because if you forget to turn those features back on and you have scheduled tasks, it'll go out and mow and it doesn't have any way of knowing what obstacles are in the way. So never turn off your obstacle avoidance if all possible, because if you forget to turn it back on, you'll damage the Luba like I did on that 1/4 inch steel under that trailer. Yes, it does have a front bumper, and if it bumps something, then it would not do it that way. But in my scenario, it was the overhead obstacle that got the top of the camera. And I'm fortunate enough that it didn't cause any real damage to the Luba, because that would be an expensive fix. And during my 4 months of testing, I made several mistakes. That wasn't the only one, but this next one was completely intentional. And I think I did a pretty good job of filling those Omni tires up. I let the Luba play in that sticky mud for a bit and then allowed it to dry to see if those tires would still work. And surprisingly, they did. I wasn't expecting the actual outcome of those tires to still rotate. And it gave me an excuse to hose it down and test the IPX6 rating, which I thoroughly tested throughout the 4 months. And without the true all-wheel drive system, this thing would have got stuck in that mud. Also, the all-wheel drive system allows for stability on slopes going upwards or going sideways, and going over obstacles like raised sidewalks and driveways. It also creates the ability to do true zero-turn mowing. Although you can set this to do 3-point turn mowing so it doesn't damage the lawn, it's your preference, whatever you would like it to do. It does have that all-wheel drive system. It rarely gets stuck, but it wasn't 100% success rate here because I made sure of it. I have a couple ditch lines at the front of the property where culverts have been installed for the driveways, and they have sudden drop-offs. Realistically, this area should be hand mowed or trimmed using a string trimmer. However, Luba does do a great job of keeping most of this area mowed after I figured out its limitations. I'm very impressed with the accuracy of the satellite guided Luba 2, because I mapped out the Luba to mow very close to the edge of our raised patio, and it consistently mows the exact path every time it goes out. You can also see this result in the lines it creates in the lawn, whether it's at 0-degree angle, 45-degree angle, or any other setting that you have it set to, you'll be perfect every time. And I'm used to using extremely loud mowers like this 60-inch bad boy Maverick that I have here. And my wife uses the Ego E-Steer, which is pretty quiet, but it doesn't come nowhere near how quiet the Luba 2 is. And I've mowed at all times of the day and night without any worries of disturbing your neighbors. And the cool thing about these robotic mowers is that you can mow while enjoying company over for a night on the patio without ever being disturbed by noise pollution or gas fumes, or wasting your time to go out and actually do the mowing physically yourself. And the more you use it, the more you'll appreciate it. And if you're going to mow at night, I would highly suggest leaving the side lights on if security or theft is not a concern, because you could barely hear this thing creep up on you in the dark. And it's important to note that not all robotic mowers can mow at night. That's one thing I do love about the Luba 2, is that I can mow anytime I would like. From within the app, you can manually take control and mow as well. This is another first that I've experienced with the Luba 2, that no other robotic mower that I've tested allows the user that type of control. I love using the ability to manually mow if I need to. Super useful if you let the grass get way too tall or you're in an area where Luba is being challenged. It gives you the ability to manually find a solution. And another first for me is that you can control Luba through voice control using Alexa or Google. Alexa, ask Mammotion Robot to start mowing.
I want to start task or any other.
Start task number 1. Yes, it is IPX6 rated. That's an industry-leading rating on a robotic mower. You can splash or wash off the Luba 2 from any angle. I definitely pushed the limits on this rating, as you'll see throughout this video, but ultimately you can get this thing wet and you'll be completely fine. Just don't toss it in a lake or something like that. Now, if you do get the Luba 2 wet, you're gonna notice that it'll stop mowing if you have the do not mow on rainy days selection in the app turned on, and it will return to its charging station. But if you just dry that off, you can send it back out and it continue mowing. Rain, sleet, or snow, Luba can mow. We're waiting on the sensor to actually recognize that it started to rain and sleet actually. So once this little sensor right there starts to have water in it, this should return to the home base. And it looks like it just recognized that it's raining outside because it turned around right in the middle of this strip as soon as I said that, and it looks like it's heading back home. And you could turn this feature on or off in the app to prevent the Luba from mowing in a downpour. And if you remember earlier, I mentioned that I made multiple mistakes throughout my testing period. This was another one where I turned the rain sensor off and then forgot to turn it back on, because a couple days later it was out mowing and a downpour came and I didn't have that sensor turned on, and it just kept mowing and it went country mudding for a second time. And that didn't happen just 2 times, but it happened 4 times. One of them was intentional, but the other 3 was me turning off sensors that I probably shouldn't be turning off because I can't remember to turn them back on. But that's my recommendation. Don't turn these sensors off if you don't have to. I was in the middle of a construction project and I literally turned the Luba into a mud ball. If I had the sensor turned on, that would have never happened because it's pretty sensitive and works perfectly. I did max out the mowing capacity of 2.5 acres in around 20 different zones. We have just at 6.5 acres of land, and now that we don't mow the entire field in the rear, we're down to around 2.5 acres of area that we keep mowed. Although I am struggling with getting it properly manicured and full of grass, we still mow it like a golf course. Regardless, Luba stays busy. Here's one of the coolest features of the Luba 2, and I think it's unique to any other robotic mower on the market: camera vision monitoring. This allows the user to visually monitor the mowing status of the mower without physically having to be on site. Also, it plays an important role in the obstacle avoidance technology that the Luba 2 offers. As well, it can easily help identify a thief if you have this feature turned on. The obstacle avoidance is fantastic and packed with 3 layers of protection. And I want to share that with you while I'm talking about it. It's equipped with bionic 3D vision, ultrasonic radar, and a physical bumper. I'm telling you guys, this thing is jam-packed with state-of-the-art technology. 3D vision and enhanced RTK fusion mapping paired with the ultrasonic radar sensors and the physical bumper, you can feel safe that this thing's not going to cut anything that it's not supposed to cut. And depending on the type of grass that you'll be cutting, Mammotion offers 2 different versions of the Luba 2, the standard model and the H model. The H model can mow between 2.4 and 4 inches, while the standard model can mow between 1.2 and 2.7 inches. And don't let what I'm about to say confuse you, because each version offers 4 different models: the 1,000, 3,000, 5,000, and 10,000 models. I have the 10,000H because of the size of yard that I have, but you may not need the 10,000. And I'm gonna try to fit on the screen the differences between the models, but if it's too hard to see, I'll provide a link in the description below so you can download it and check out the PDF. It has a total cutting width of 15.7 inches, and that uses 2 discs with a total of 8 blades. Servicing a mower is part of owning a mower, and Mammotion recommends that you change these blades every 30 days. However, I think that you can get by with going probably even 60 days if you have nice grass and you're not mowing things like twigs or hitting rocks. And I want to show you that process because it's really not that much of a hassle. And before sticking my fingers in anything like that, there's a key back here that we had to put in to first operate it. I want to remove this, and then I'm going to remove most of this grass. I'll put this back in and then I'll spray because I don't want to get water up into that port. And almost all of this buildup is my fault because I allowed this to mow last night when it actually rained. So wet grass in the bottom of the deck is not a good idea. But as I'm about to show you, this is a very simple cleanup. And it doesn't take much to get all that grass out of there. And now that I got the bulk of that out, I'm gonna reinstall the key. And here's one area that I wish I could do that I didn't have to lay it up against the side of my house. But I want it to stay like that, and I want to be from a distance when I'm spraying it off. And the Luba won't stand on its side so you can spray it off. So you got to put it up against something. And when you go to grab the Luba, there's a handle on this side and on this side to lift it up. And I'm gonna put it over here on my table, turn it upside down so we can get to the blades. Included with the Luba 2, you'll get your first set of blades. So there's 8 blades in this and the screws to replace the ones that are in the disc there. I'm gonna show you exactly how to do that. This is provided as well. This can be a 4-way, or it could be something like an Allen wrench. That takes the camera off the top of the mower when you first get it. But there is a 4-way screwdriver on this side that will be able to take these bolts out to replace the blades. And to be honest with you, these blades are not in bad shape. I'm not even sure if I'm gonna have to replace them because they still rotate. I could just take this out and clean them, and I think they would be fine. This has got over 100 hours of use on it already, over 110 hours at this point. But these are still all rotating blades, which is nice to have that still doing that. In the older Luba, these would get locked up pretty easily. But I'm gonna take these out, change them, because I'm gonna show you how to change the blades. I'm gonna start with this top one here. And that came loose way better than the old Luba, the Luba 1. Most of the time those got stuck and you couldn't get them out. So that's a big improvement. And you can see that the new blade versus the old blade, we don't really have any damage to the old blade. That's pretty impressive because this has 100 hours of cutting on it and it almost looks brand new, other than the mess that's on it, the grass. So we want to clean this stuff off. I'm actually going to take the old blade and just carefully go around it like that and pull off that mess below it to get that nice and clean. So when we put our new blade on there, it rotates freely. And I have a bunch of these old shop rags that I keep around just for things like this, to clean things up that are really nasty. And to install the new blade, the way that Mammotion did it was they put their emblem facing out. So I'm gonna install it like that right there. But the first thing that we wanna do is take that little washer or spacer, put it onto your bolt, then grab your blade and get it started. You want that blade to be able to turn freely. So when you're tightening it down, don't just snug it in there right off the rip. Make sure that the blade is setting on this portion right there. And you can feel it when it happens. So I've got a pretty good torque on that, and that's nice and tight. And you can see how that's rotating. So that's exactly what you want right there. And as the use comes, you can see that these don't rotate as freely. So that's why you want to maintenance this to keep those rotating like that when it's spinning. And I'll do the exact same thing on the remaining blades. And you'll see how these blades spin out when we just do this right here. That process took no longer than 10 minutes. That's with filming and everything. If I didn't have to move the camera around and get the shots, I could probably have those blades changed in less than 5 minutes. I have plenty of experience washing the Luba over the last 4 months, so you can wash it with confidence. I intentionally got this thing filthy and mucked up as much as possible just to see if there would be any problems down the road. I mowed wet grass in the middle of the night, morning, and the day. I cleaned it up, ran it out in the sticky type of mud, completely let it dry, and repeated that process several times over the weeks. I jet sprayed it and splash washed it. Although I would not recommend the jet spraying, I did it because it's my job to test it, and I wanted to see if I can locate any issues. I experienced 0 problems, but depending on the water pressure, this could be a bad idea. Something like a pressure washer might cause you some serious issues. Mowing over 500 feet from the RTK. I'm not sure of the exact range of the RTK to the Luba 2, but I did test it at over 500 feet and did not experience any interference or signal loss. That's very impressive. Security might be the top of your concern if you're mowing that far from your house. Here's a couple of those security features. If someone picks up a Luba 2 while it's mowing or on the charger, it'll lock, and you'll need to manually unlock it. Also, a notification will be sent to your phone of this action. There's also a place on the mower just under the camera where you can place an air tag, so if someone takes your Luba 2, you can track it down. Now here's an important message to all you thieves out there. If you steal a Luba 2, you will not be able to use it because you have to authenticate it, and it's authenticated to one user. And if the owner has activated the 4G service, they'll be able to track down their Luba 2 basically anywhere in the world. So you can connect the Luba 2 to 4G, Wi-Fi, and Bluetooth. With up to 60 customizable zones, you'll have more than enough zones to properly map out your yard. I only use 20 zones in my 2.5 acres of space, so I still have 40 zones available if I ever need them. And what happens when the power goes out? With many robotic mowers, they just stop right in the middle of the line. With Luba, it just continues to mow on. The Mammotion app is nothing short of amazing. Mammotion is very active with updates and constantly providing new features. With each update they roll out on the Luba 2, it just keeps getting better. The app is loaded with features and controls. However, it's very simple to use and easy to navigate. And because this mower is a piece of technology just as much as it is a physical product, I'm very impressed with the dedication that Mammotion takes to update their app on a consistent basis. And the last feature that I want to talk about is something that I haven't seen on any other gadget. And this is really cool, the lawn printing option, which I thought it was going to be a gimmick. But after using it several times and learning how that it actually works and a little bit of time that it takes to let the grass grow up so you can actually see what it's printing, it actually is really cool. So we're huge UK Wildcat fans, and I'm just putting UK in the backyard right now, simply because if we try to go with Go Cats, it was just taking up way too much space. So we just did 2 letters, UK, and it looks really cool. So check this out. I'll show you a time lapse of how I did this and the finished product after, I think it was 2 weeks after I took a final shot of that. And then I'm gonna provide today, when I walked out to actually record this segment of the video, I wanna show you how tall that grass is growing to make that really pop. So if you're into those type of things and you think you would use that, the lawn pruning is a really cool feature. And simply put, the Mammotion Luba 2 is absolutely, hands down, the best robotic mower that you could buy on the market today. And if you're still here, I want to thank you for hanging out with me to the end of the video. And I want to provide you with one helpful tip that could save you a lot of time, because if you make this mistake, it's going to cost you some time remapping everything over again. The RTK antenna works exceptionally well. Even when there's a storm or clouds out, it still performs very well without having signal loss. Now, if you move that RTK, so if you pick that up and move it, you're gonna have to remap everything over. You don't want that to happen. So make sure you get a nice secure location when you put it down in the ground or when you secure it on the side of the house. If you're putting it on the side of the house, you do not wanna put that under the overhangs, because you won't have a clear line of sight to the sky, and you'll have disruption when maybe you're going on the other side of your house. I did experience that. That's why I wanted to share it with you. So try to get that out off to the side, away from any hangovers or under trees. Just make sure your RTK is out in the open and you won't have any connection problems whatsoever.